the most underrated sale in America. Ranked #1 by percentage of stakes winners, stakes horses, and 2-year-old winners. Precocious yearlings selected on pedigree and superior conformation. Plus a showcase of the freshman sires of 2025. Recent grads include Grade 1 winners Chancer McPatrick and Carson's Run, with a growing list of graded stakes winners. Buy smarter, buy earlier, buy in July. The Fasig-Tipton July sale of selected yearlings. July 8th in Lexington, Kentucky. Where will you be?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Horse Races Now podcast. Kenny, it looks like you were at beautiful Magdalena. And we have a special guest here for a couple minutes. Hi, Annie. How are you?
Good.
So, Kenny, we saw it on X. It looks like Annie's favorite horse, which is, what horse is that, Annie? Remind our listeners. Butterbean. Butterbean just had a baby, right? What was the name of the baby?
Jellybean.
Jellybean. I love it. Who named?
That's not set in stone yet. That's just Annie named Butterbean.
Okay.
And there are other partners on Butterbean, but this foal's by Candy Ride, and the name Jellybean, from what we understand, is available.
Ooh, okay.
So we're optimistic that happens. So anyway, we've got to discuss it with some partners.
I like it.
Yeah, 2 of them have said they love it. It's a really cute name. But
now,
Annie, tell me what you think of Jellybean.
He's crazy.
Why is he crazy?
He's a very fun horse. He drinks out of a flower pot.
Okay. It was a beautiful looking little horse, though, from what I saw.
They actually did a vet exam on him here the other day.
The best bull on the
Ross
farm.
Emberton came out, and he is pretty much flawless conformationally. So we try to evaluate these horses on a regular basis, and right now we're pretty optimistic that's going to be a good one.
Annie,
he was born in the same stall as Mystic Dane.
Do we have a future Derby horse there, Annie? Do you think?
Yeah. He's still energetic.
Yeah, Butterbean herself didn't have a lot of early speed.
Right.
She was a filly that came from way off the pace, and we bred the Candy Ride because we wanted an injection of more early speed, and he should offer that. There's no guarantee, but look, I think this is a pretty exciting foal to be around. It's her first foal, and hopefully she has a long career as a broodmare.
I love it.
I know she's loved. Isn't she loved?
Everyone says she's the best on the farm.
I believe it.
Sweetest.
I believe it, Annie. Well, thank you for saying hello, Annie. Our listeners had missed you, so I know you were off to lunch, but thank you for saying hi.
All right.
Should I go back to lunch?
Yep. She's having lunch with Lauren in the office.
I love it. All right, Kenny. Well, listen, man, you nailed it. To you, I guess it wasn't all that difficult, but you gave a lot of our listeners the courage and the confirmation to go ahead and put money down on Sovereignty. And boy, that horse came through.
Yeah, he's pretty much a beast. I got to watch him train a few days before the Belmont up there, and I just thought that this was a horse that was a no-brainer. I think he's going to be a generational sire. You're going to get the Godolphin team will breed him to the best of the best, and so you're gonna be probably gonna be reading his name in the pedigrees for decades to come.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Pretty exciting stuff.
Pretty impressive. I tell you, one of the question, not even question, I guess it was a statement. It was kind of interesting. So when we put our video out, obviously you made the prediction that Sovereignty's going to win. One of the very first comments on our podcast was how there's patterns to this, and how the Derby winner hadn't won at the Belmont, blah, 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 blah. It's not going to happen. But it was pretty interesting just watching everybody come back and be like, yeah, okay, well, we trust Kenny's opinion a little bit more than yours.
Well, the world's full of keyboard geniuses.
Isn't that the truth?
That's okay.
So one of the questions, this isn't even a question, it's a statement, but I want to get your opinion here. First of all, he says, Kenny is easily one of the best interviews in the business. Thank you so much for your podcast. Then he follows up with, only reason Mott did not wheel back Sovereignty in the Preakness is because the Triple Crown has been tainted and not many horsemen really care about it anymore. The Triple Crown feat under these altered asterisk circumstances. Do you agree with that?
No, I think it's an individual trainer, horse owner decision. I think every one of us look at our horse and try to figure out whether or not it's the right thing for the horse, right thing for the owner. Trainer would be the way down the list on decision what would be right for them. But it is testing the 2 weeks back and 3 weeks back, and I've said that I somewhat regret not skipping the Preakness with Mystic Dan, but at the same time, hindsight's 20/20, and you learn from those experiences. But I think Belmont is consummate horseman. He's the guy that is, not only somebody I completely respect, but I'm friends with him, and he has a client there that's probably one of the greatest ownership groups in the history of the sport. I mean, Sheikh Mohammed and his team are just the things they do is first class, and there would never be an ounce of pressure for Belmont to run that horse in a race that he wasn't comfortable with. And I think that winning the Derby was a race that really was important to the Godolphin team and Sheikh Mohammed and Darley, and they were due. They really were. And they won the Preakness before. They won that with Bernardini. Of course, he's a broodmare sire of Sovereignty. Mm-hmm. And then, Belmont is another ideal spot. It was an ideal pattern for that colt. And I don't think it has anything to do with patterns and, the Triple Crown. I do. And I have said that I would love to see them space it first Saturday in May, first Saturday in June, first Saturday in July. But in this case, Bill obviously did the right thing. Horse won easy. Yeah,
pretty impressive performance there for sure. And he wasn't even the favorite, which is crazy. So you were able to make a little bit of money if you bet on it, and a lot of our listeners did. So Kenny, thank you for giving everybody the confidence to go ahead and do that.
No worries. All right. Now we're here watching a little bit of Royal Ascot.
I was going to ask you that. So what are you paying attention to there?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite times of the year. I mean, we're on the second race, going on the third here, and I'll give people this is the old breeding shed on the farm here at Magdalena. But I love watching the whole race card here at the farm or Ascot, and you can see it's on FanDuel TV. But then I can look outside here and get a view of the farm and the world that we work in.
Gorgeous.
And stand down here at the farm because I had some business at Keeneland, and those that have never been here, this is the old breeding shed where 3 Kentucky Derby winners were conceived. Dust Commander, Venetian Way, Tommy Lee stood here. Mm-hmm. Kentucky Oaks winners here. We actually use this sometimes as an Airbnb. This was a dirt floor when I bought Magdalena Farm, and we made it into. You can see my little workspace here.
Yeah.
But just a really unique little spot. It's not unusual for us to have cocktail parties in here and fundraisers and things like that. So,
beautiful.
Anyway, welcome to my little abode here.
Gorgeous.
We've owned Magdalena 20 years now, so it's been a big part of the family for a long time, and it's just a lovely spot.
Now, Kenny, do you breed at Magdalena?
Well, yeah, we have got a. I think we've walked around it before, but we have 63 stalls here. The barn area was originally designed for stallions and for mares to ship in, and when I call this the breeding shed, this is where actually the mare would be brought. This one area over here was where they. It was what they called the lab, and they would clean the mare and clean the stallion, and the mare would get jumped in here, and so it's got a lot of history. For that matter, Magdalena, or actually this piece of property, one of the first thoroughbred stallions in the history of Kentucky stood here, and that was a horse named Crawler, back. I'm turning the volume down here. Crawler back in the 1800s.
Okay.
Actually, 1810 he stood here.
Wow.
So the backstory on this particular property, it may very well be the oldest thoroughbred facility in the nation.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. 1810. That's crazy. All right, Kenny, we've had a couple questions come in here, and a few have been on Rattle and Roll. People are just kind of curious. Well, when are we going to see Rattle and Roll again, and what's the plan there?
He's about 100 yards from me.
Oh, okay.
He's in a little layup mode right now. He had a small bone bruising coming out of his campaign in Dubai and Saudi Arabia. He came back here. We did a little lameness exam with Dr. Bramlich. He's sound, but to keep a horse of his age going, it's prudent to take more time with him and get plenty of spacing, and we'll have him back ready for the fall. We're excited about the second half of the year with Rattle, but he's here, and we've got a list of other young horses that are here that are going through shins and just little baby things. Maybe a little bit later in the show here, we could walk around and I could show you some of them.
Yeah, that'd be great. I know our listeners love that, so that'd be awesome. Then we had a couple Mystic Dan questions. The first is why not have Mystic Dan run in another Grade 3 race? And maybe you are. Is that part of the plan?
Well, where is there a Grade 3?
I don't know. It was just a question. That's a great question. I don't know.
I could take him to the Cornhusker, but we're probably going to take Gould's Gold there. That's at Prairie Meadows. But look, his record at Churchill Downs is pretty impeccable, and there's a million reasons to run in the Stephen Foster, purse-wise, Grade 1.
Yep.
A track that he's very fond of. He'd be going for his fourth win there.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to ship anywhere. So, appreciate the feedback, but I don't know why I would want to go anywhere else.
Yeah. Understood.
But he's doing well, and he's going to get another workout this weekend, and we will have him teed up for the Stephen Foster. It's going to be a great day of racing for people out there that want to go to see a really great day of racing. That's June 28th at Churchill. You're going to see Torpedo Anna in the Fleur de Lis. You're going to see Mystic Dan. You'll probably see Sierra Leone. I'm not sure what other stars are going to come in, but we've got horses lined up for that weekend, and should be a really great card, great day of racing at Churchill. It'd be the final weekend of the spring meeting.
Awesome. Yeah, and that was the next question is what's next for Torpedo Anna?
Yeah, the Fleur de Lis. That's they're both scheduled to breeze this weekend. Probably her Friday, him Saturday, and then we will prep them for the races the following weekend. It's we're really right on top of that. Looks like we're less than 2 weeks, and like I said, it'd be very exciting. I would be thrilled for them both to win the same day over there. I'm sure those races aren't going to be easy, but to have them a year later go back and to be able to run on the same card at Churchill would be pretty exciting, not only for us but everybody else.
Yeah, super exciting. So speaking of shipping on Mystic Dan, a listener asked, did Mystic Dan ride a van all the way to California? And they wonder if that trip wore him down.
Well, there were no planes available during December because of UPS and FedEx don't allow horse travel. And so we decided that we split the trip. We actually shipped him to halfway, laid him over for a day, and then shipped him the rest of the way. In hindsight, it was a mistake. Although horses have shipped in the past, and it's not a problem, but in hindsight, it was a mistake. I had to readjust the workout when he got out there. I can't say he was exhausted from the trip at all. I think he handled the trip relatively well as that goes. But normally, it would have been a 5 to 7 hour travel with a plane. And it was the last 3-year-old Grade 1 on the calendar. But look, hindsight's 20/20. I've said repeatedly that I wished I hadn't gone, and I wished I hadn't gone over to Florida after that to the Pegasus. But those are decisions you can't, or bells you can't unring.
Yeah, and so kind of a follow up to that is when trainers kind of in this Kentucky or the East Coast area, do they typically van or they do typically plane the horses to Santa Anita?
Well, historically, there's been a company called Tech Sutton that had their own plane that could load a large group of horses and send them west without any trouble, and they the travel was very convenient and stress free for most of the horses. And then Tech Sutton had an issue with their plane. I can't give you the backstory, but that plane has been out of service pushing 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Best match I can give you. And then we have to utilize Tech Sutton or FedEx, or I'm sorry, we have to use UPS or FedEx. So the logistics of moving horses east to west has been more complicated, and that has in some cases prohibited horsemen to be able to move horses east and west easily. So that this is one of the things that most people don't think about. It's a logistical issue that when you don't have easy flights, sometimes you have to van to Indianapolis, then fly. Sometimes you have to van to Chicago. Sometimes you have to, sometimes you can go in and out of Louisville, but actually my horses, Rattle and Roll, came back from Dubai and flew from Dubai directly into Louisville. It's a fantastic flight, and there's a quarantine facility there, and so that's good. And then you've also got these New York hubs there's some hubs there, and there's one in Miami as well. So a lot of these things people have no idea we deal with, but the east to west, and particularly Mystic Dan, and the timing of it all was rough, and no, it didn't go well.
Got it. Makes sense. All right. So, Katie, obviously you're a big UK fan. So our listeners who are UK and UofL fans, there's a recent comment here by Matt Jones, and I want to get your opinion on. So Vince Marrow, who was the basically the recruiting director and one of the coaches for the UK football team, just left, and now he's with the Cardinals. And Matt Jones kind of went on a big rant talking about how different Lexington is than Louisville, and how the horse industry is based in Louisville, and how UPS and all these big industries, and how nobody's even going to know who he is in Louisville. But in Lexington, he's a star because it's all about UK athletics. Now, there's been a lot of debate on, well, wait a minute, isn't the horse industry more based in Lexington than it is in Louisville? But I'm curious on your take on what I was hearing him talk about that, and I was like, I really don't know the answer. Is the industry bigger than one city or the other?
No, well, the horse industry is in Lexington, but Churchill Downs as the racing center is definitely, and Churchill Downs as a company does control many of the, I guess you could say, pulls a lot of the strings in the horse industry. But together, we're very fortunate to have both of them.
Right.
I know Matt. Not well. We've talked on the phone. We've got each other's cell numbers. He's passionate UK guy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so am I. But I'm known to throw an L down, and my wife hates it. Yeah. But Vince Marrow is, people were really upset about that. I can't tell you that I spend that much time keeping up with all of it. The UK U of L athletics, probably more so basketball than football. Although I am going to contribute to Coach Stoops' he's got a children's fundraiser that's in July, and I'm going to give some halters. Awesome. I actually love for people to bid on those. Torpedo Anna, Mystic Dan halters, framed. These are Oaks Derby halters, and then it'll have an Oaks Derby double, and it'll be framed up, but it's going to be auctioned off at Coach Stoops' fundraiser.
Cool.
So we're excited about that.
Yeah.
But Vince Marrow, that he definitely jumped from. But Coach Patino did it too.
He did, no doubt.
Right. So look, this college athletic sports, and I think Louisville's very competitive. The coach over there, he grabbed one of their better assets, and so it'd be like me hiring an assistant trainer away from a top trainer, and then placing them in there to compete against each other. And that happens all the time in our sport too.
Yeah, I figured as much.
And so, but I like the UK U of L back and forth, and I hope that both schools are competitive at a high level. And I do pull for UK when they play U of L, but I pull for U of L when they play anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Lexington and went to UK, and it's now look, some people, it's like life and death to them, but for me, it's fun. And I'm glad to see both schools, competitive at a high level in both sports.
Listen, I'm a big Louisville fan myself, but I certainly respect what Matt Jones has built, and he's really good at what he does. And I mean, gosh, he's self-made, and what he's done there is pretty awesome what he's built. But my main question there, so you're saying the horse industry is basically in Lexington?
Well, the breeding industry, the sales, all that's here. I mean, Churchill Downs as a race course is obviously important. But you can't say that the thoroughbred industry is in Louisville at all.
Okay, and that's what I thought.
Yeah, the racing at Keeneland is top class, as we all know, and the racing at Churchill is top class. I mean, but they coexist well. They're not. They don't run head and head against each other. So that's another deal. But you need them both.
Yeah.
And they are what would you call it? Symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, I get it. And Churchill Downs certainly runs a big part of the city here. But as far as the horse industry is concerned, I would think that Lexington certainly owns the majority of that.
Yeah, the breeding industry is completely here. Now on the north side of Louisville, in the past, Hermitage Farm was the center of one of the best stallions, or the home of one of the best stallions in racing back in the 60s and 70s, horse named Raja Baba. And Hermitage Farm, if you go out Goshen or out 42 in Louisville, there's some fantastic horse properties out there. And I've spent a lot of time out there. I used to do all my layups with Dr. Lavin at Longfield Farm. But unfortunately, with the industry contracting, there's less of that out there now. And
yeah.
But those farms are still there, and I don't know how many of them are breeding as actively as they did back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But there are some beautiful pieces of property in Louisville, but still they have to come to Lexington to breed their mares.
Got it. All right. Last question here before maybe you can show us a little bit of a Magdalena that our listeners have not seen. Has the Netflix show changed much in your opinion as far as how people are viewing the horse industry?
I'm not sure. I know that I've gotten a lot of high compliments about the portion that we were in. I think that the first couple episodes that people were somewhat disappointed, and it was kind of a lot of glitz and things like that. And I don't think it represents our industry at all, the first couple episodes, to be honest, my opinion. I mean, I think that they could have picked so many other people that are really special. I mean, I could give you a list of 100 different people that they could have brought in that are so down to earth and just real hardworking people that would have been probably a better representation. But of course, I didn't produce or manage the show. But I've at this point, I do think they take some advice from me, but there's just, I could go on and on. I mean, the sales companies between Keeneland and Fasig, that didn't get much show. The breeders and the people that raise these horses, I thought Judy Hicks would have been an ideal person for that. I mean, there's people that could go on Bow Lane, the Farishes, and the work that they've done here. You've got Three Chimneys Farms, got tons of history. Claiborne Farm, they are world class, and I'm sure I'm missing a lot. Calumet Farm has got still being held strong by Brad Kelly, but there's it's a show, and that's what they put on, and I think I'm real happy that they were able to capture everything that we were able to do, and share it with the world, and how people perceive it, I think is obviously they're how they individually take it, but I hope that they come back with another episode.
I do too. I hope they come back and do another season, because I thought it was very well received and agreed on the first 2 episodes. But after that, it was very insightful. Your parts were fantastic. So I agree with that. And I think the listeners would concur. All right, Kenny. What part of Magdalena can you show us that we haven't seen?
I don't think any of it. I mean, we've walked through the barns here, haven't we?
We have.
Yeah. I mean, if is this live? Did we go live today?
We're not live. No.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's a shame because you got Royal Ascot race 3 coming up in 7 minutes. So
yeah.
I'm not sure how much longer I can stay on this.
I understand. Yeah. No, we're thankfully this particular one isn't live.
The English racing is the classiest racing ever. I mean, I don't know how much people can see of what they're doing here, but the English racing is just amazing. And I have always, I've run there. I've been second and third and second and fifth. I never won a race over there, but the Queen comes rolling in the carriage, and you've got this just real high class racing. The prize money over there is for some, they complain about the prize money, but it's really the thrill and I guess that's why they call it the sport of kings, right?
Yeah.
The thrill of it all. And there are those that aren't that motivated to go over there from the United States because we give away more money here in some cases in some maiden races than they do to ship all the way to Newmarket and then race at Ascot. It's a real logistical, it's tough. I mean, we've done it quite a few times, but why do
you think that is? Why would the money be less there? That doesn't make sense.
Because the way that the sport's structured, they have a bookmaking system where not a very big percentage of the handle goes back into the purse structure or the prize money, and they really need to address it. They do a better job addressing it in France, but England has got such a rooted history in bookmakers handling wagers and the process of taking bets, and they really haven't come to a solution to get more money back into the prize money, or more of the handle back into the prize money. And I think at some point they definitely need to address it, because the cost of owning and handling racehorses is so high.
Yeah.
And got to get some return on that investment. And so it really starts eliminating people that can't afford it, and it disincentivizes those that want to try to actually get a return.
Yep.
So it's tricky, and the history of the sport over there is 400 years old.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
But the racing's first class. If you go to a race in England, they actually have a contest between the race courses on who serves the best lunch, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll have a lunch, and then the race won't start till 2, and they only run from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and then you can go have a nice dinner or tailgate. But the whole experience is significantly different than American racing. So it's it's not so obsessed with numbers of races. How many times do you see? I think they have 14 races, 15 races at Derby Day, Preakness Day, Belmont Day. It's crazy. And for me, the English are wise in that they don't over race, and they have some cases 6 to 8 races. I think Ascot's 7 races a day.
Interesting. So it is a much different experience.
Later and you finish earlier. And much different experience.
Yeah.
And they race over there. For example, they'll race at Windsor on Monday and Newmarket on Tuesday. And then Wednesday they'll go to, I can't remember, Sandown or Goodwood. And then, Wednesday, let's say they go to Sandown, and Thursday they go to Goodwood, and Friday they go to Ascot. Saturday they go to Epsom, and then Sunday they might run at Lingfield and Brighton. And I'm sure I've got those wrong. Somebody will correct me out there, but that's the basis of how the racing moves around London. And like I said, there's a competition from the kitchens at each race course on who can serve. I mean, 7-course meals with the best champagne, best wine. Food's just amazing. It's just a wonderful experience, actually. And I aspire to race over there a little bit, maybe in the future. We'll see. If I have the right horse to go, I love going to Ascot, but I don't have that many grass horses. So
yeah, right.
We haven't made it over there. Although I'd love to try Mystic Dan on the turf at some point.
Oh, I love it. All right, there's a little tidbit for our listeners. All right, Kenny, anything else before we get out of here?
I don't think so. Hope everybody's doing good. We are looking forward to that June 28th race weekend, and we will have our big horses teed up, and then after that we will migrate. Well, we have the yearling sale that starts the first week in July, the Fasig-Tipton sale, which has been a prime sale for me for decades. I'll be working it starting on probably the 4th or the 5th of July. That sale date is, I believe, on the 8th, and they sell some older horses there too. And then after that, I'll migrate back to Saratoga for part of the summer. And then we've got a Fasig-Tipton August sale in August 4th and 5th at the Saratoga Fasig-Tipton Pavilion. And then we've got the New York Reds after that. So there's some fun work to do this summer. And right now we're spending a little last of our time here in Kentucky before we migrate to Saratoga.
Need to figure out how to get to one of these sales, Kenny. So I'd love to give our listeners a little insight and a little behind-the-scenes look at what you're actually looking for when you're buying horses.
Well, if you'll circle your calendar for June 6th or 7th, I'm sorry, July 6th or 7th.
Okay.
And then the actual sales on the 8th, easy enough. I'll be looking at different yearlings. We will be busy, but I will, be glad to have you follow me around.
That'd be pretty cool. All right, Kenny, thanks again for all your insight. Thanks again for your time. And a big thanks to our listeners. Our numbers are incredible. So thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you for giving us a high rating. We are in the top 25% of all podcasts in the world. It's pretty cool. Oh, wow. Pretty neat. So we're making our way up the charts there when it comes from sports and horse racing. So thank you to our listeners.
Thank you to Fasig-Tipton.
That's right. Big shout out, Fasig-Tipton, one of our big sponsors. See you at the races, Kenny.
All right.
The most underrated sale in America, ranked #1 by percentage of stakes winners, stakes horses, and 2-year-old winners. Precocious yearlings selected on pedigree and superior conformation, plus a showcase of the freshman sires of 2025. Recent grads include Grade 1 winners Chancer McPatrick and Carson's Run, with a growing list of graded stakes winners. Buy smarter, buy earlier, buy in July. The Fasig-Tipton July sale of selected yearlings, July 8th in Lexington, Kentucky. Where will you be?